Okay. So I'll be sharing mostly my observations and how I have practiced ethics in my career. So there's nothing like that I refer to journals or papers. It's all purely my experience and my observations. And most of us here are, retired people are in the dawn of their careers, but this is mainly meant for these people who are youngsters who are embarking on their journey to become geologists, professors, or scientists. Okay. So that it will help them to shape their idea of ethics. He's also a fellow of the World Academy of Science. So I'd like to pose some questions, ladies and gentlemen. Did we ever or were tempted to cheat in a game, copy in exams, or try to get a job or promotion, jump with you, jump traffic lights, or cheat people around us? So these are all dilemmas that we have faced and we still face every single day in our lives. And what did we do? It depends on our upbringing, our training, our values, our morals, and principles. And what shaped my morals and my principles, I would like to say a few things. I learned ethics from my grandmother, my parents, my siblings, and my teachers. They taught me ethics. And also I was shaped by the practitioners of a 13th century social reformer called Basaveshwara. We learned his vachanas and used to recite them. And I would like to quote one particular vachana translated in English. So Basaveshwara says, do not steal, do not kill, do not lie, do not rage, do not loathe the other, etc., etc. This itself is inner purity, this itself is outer purity. And this alone is the way to reach God, whatever it is. And in research too, in research too, we face similar dilemmas as a researcher or a research student, which you are going to be, or a supervisor, project investigator, author of a research paper or a thesis, reviewer of proposals, papers, and applications for grants, fellowships, awards, etc. So all these are different caps. Hello? So these are different caps that we wear in our careers. Again, our decision is based on our upbringing, training, values, morals, and principles. Because yesterday there was already some discussion on how to inculcate ethics in people. I personally feel that it should be inculcated in the childhood and through teachers and professors and scientists who will deal with students every single day. And the declaration of ethics, signing and all that is okay, but this is what is most important in my opinion. Okay, 2 courses of action are possible. Number 1, through ethics student, it's very quick and you get easy gains, very easy. Or the second is follow ethics, which is a painful, slow journey, it's a tedious journey, right? But if you did the first one, fraud will be detected sooner or later. Guaranteed, okay? And you'll be condemned for the fraud. If you follow the second one, you'll get respect. You will have good standing in the society. You'll be honored with people. If nothing else, you'll get a peaceful sleep at night. You put your head on the pillow, you'll sleep well, right? And science should be full of virtues, and it should not be marred by frauds. And as humans, we are liable to biases and errors, and more serious crimes and frauds. And there are several scientific frauds that are reported in the journal Nature. I won't go into all of those. However, I would like to mention this very famous person, Vijay Gupta. It was a Himalayan fraud that he committed. And science is what? Pursuit of truth. And that is what we should be doing. And that is possible only by following ethics and nothing else. Only then we can bring out the truth. Now, why do they act unethically, right? We want quick benefits and quick recognition.
From developing countries.
And this is particularly true for, hello, ladies and gentlemen here. This is particularly true of younger generation. They want things very fast, right?
So this is a
Fast food, fast everything. But you need to relax and go easy on those things and follow ethics. So you want a research project grant, you want a research fellowship, you want a prize, or you want promotion or an academic fellowship. So these are the reasons that, or monetary gain even. The list goes on and on and on. Now, why should we not be unethical? The society depends on scientific research. We want energy, metals, and minerals for the society. And the medical profession, it's important that we follow ethics. In pharmacological innovations, and teaching depends on good research. And media uses the scientific truth that we say, we give to the society, we report. And the way to be ethical is to follow this from the Taittiriya of the Upanishad, which is Satyam Vada Dharmam Chara. It simply means, choose the truth, follow the dharma. And I read something about a Thai philosopher. He says, who says speaking the truth is difficult? It's very easy. Speak the truth and that's it. It's done. Whereas if you lie, I got to remember what lie I told you, what lie I told her, and what I told, Dada, etc., etc. So your mind will be, blurred by all these wrong things. So in this talk, ethics, the what and why of it, I've already explained that. Writing a research proposal, running a research project as a researcher. Sorry.
Also, you'd like to thank the INSA for its
writing a thesis or research paper, PhD defense, and all these things. Some concluding remarks at the end. Now, when you write a research proposal, please remember that you got to formulate a real good research proposal, not repetitive, something that's already been done. And our research, our project should add new knowledge and not repetitive ones. Yes, it applies to all the countries. The ethics that I'm talking. USA, China, Taiwan, everywhere. So when you prepare the budget, be honest. Give realistic figures. And choose reference for your project proposal who are competent and who are experts. Not my friend or my brother-in-law or whatever, right? And sending a proposal, send it to only one funding agency at a time. It's not that you buy 2 or 3 lottery tickets and hope that at least one will give you the lottery. No, only one at a time. Running a research project, please follow the rules and regulations of the funding agency and the institution where you're executing the project. It's very important. Selection of staff must be unbiased. Don't go by extraneous recommendations. And choose only meritorious and experienced candidates. And you'll do a good job of your project. And fellowship of the students must be given to them 100%. Don't give 10,000 rupees and get a signature for 20,000. I know this happens in some places, but that is totally unethical. And spending and accounting of project funds. Spend the money as though you're spending your own money. It can be interpreted in 2 ways, but I would say, like I would use it as sparingly as I would if I were to use my personal money. That's what I mean. Also accounting, do proper accounting, not for the sake of getting the accountant's signature, auditor's signature. As a researcher or supervisor or research student, these are my experiences. Once my student came back from Hyderabad and offered a box of sweets to me. I said, what is this? A box of sweets to you, sir? I came from home. I said, take it back. Why, sir? I said, look, if I accept this, when I evaluate your test papers, my mind will tell me, look, this guy gave you sweets, give me more marks. So this is the reason I'll not accept it. So he had to take it back. And I never accepted any gifts or souvenirs from company representatives. the company representative that came with quotations for glassware, chemicals, equipment, etc., etc. Because the university pays me good salary and I can live comfortably and honorably with that, not with these goodies that they give. It's quite rampant in the pharma industry, as you know. And do not take any personal favors from your students, research students or MSc students. Don't ask them to come home and do all sorts of sundry jobs. That's not ethical. Collect and record the data correctly, be honest. And maintain data sheets, maintain all the records and photographs in a systematic manner. No falsifying the data, no cooking up data. This also happens sometimes. Like if you have a diagram like that, I would first have the data table, then plot them, and then get the regression line, not the other way around, okay? Some people put the regression line, put the points, and then create the data table. Please do not do that. That's not ethical. No creating evidence that did not exist. Yeah? No choosing data to suit a certain agenda. This is done by tobacco industry, pharma industry, so on and so forth. Preserve samples. You yourself may wish to have a look at it, or others may want to have a look at your samples because the samples are very unique and they give some interesting or extraneous data. So do preserve them for some time at least. When it comes to interpretation of data, no cherry picking. If you don't like the data, don't throw it away. And look at only those data that do you comfort are very, they fit into a certain framework. No, that's not the way. And humans are tuned to looking for some data. And doing this work, ऐसा होना चाहिए. So you are expecting something and you look only for that type of data. And when you do that, you will lose out on some important aspects, some new ideas. Data may contain useful and helpful information which you miss. Have an open mind, consider all options when you interpret the data. There are several possibilities, several hypotheses possible. Explore all of them and then come up with one or two hypotheses that are most plausible. And in earth sciences, it is likely that there is not one single, but maybe two hypotheses that are equally possible. So, truth is important. Interpretations can vary. I think we were discussing yesterday this particular aspect. Interpretations without bias, that's important. Okay. Seek the truth in scientific research. That is all what I would like to say. And expedite the thesis submission or paper submission. And this is important for the student. He has to get a job or some other thing. So you're familiar with this, right? Do not miss out on the patterns in data. Now, when you look at data, there is a certain pattern. I recognize that. If you don't, if you miss, somebody else will, and he or she will get the credit. So don't give that opportunity to others. So when we write research papers, one of my students said, "Sir, put your name first." This is what he said. I said, "No, this is your work, and I only guided you, so your name should be first." It is tempting to accept, when student says, "Sir, aapka naam pehle." Say no. I put my name first only for two papers where my contribution was significant, was my idea and everything. So, and authorship should be based on one's contribution. Who has contributed the most to the first author, and then and so on and so forth. I'll skip this. Just because I'm the head of department or I'm the vice chancellor or director of an institution, am I? 2 minutes. Sorry, 2 minutes. Okay. I would say no. And the guide should demonstrate how to write, and we should not write, pieces of papers. Correct it 100 times if necessary, but train the student. How many papers for one thesis? My guide said, write good papers, even if it is two papers, it is good. It should last a long time. So that is called the half-life of a paper, that concept. I'll skip that. And we have pressure to have several publications. We all know that. There are theses that I'll skip that, you know that. So no publishing worldwide in new bottle. Copying. I told my student, your English is superb, but this is not your language. So they copied. I told him, you cannot copy. So don't copy paragraphs and sentences, not even from your own publications, mind you. Even if I have published my own paper, I cannot copy from my own paper, because there is plagiarism. And there are software to detect that. So reference sentences and put within inverted commas and give a reference if it is so well written.
Yeah.
And once I got a PhD thesis for evaluation, and I Googled parts of it, and it was copied. And I said, these are all copied parts. So if you copy, you'll be caught. Remember that. Can I take 2 or 3 more minutes? 2 minutes. 2 minutes, okay. Don't give newspaper reports as references. Only peer-reviewed papers must be given as references. And which ones to quote? My guy said the original work should be, quoted. And the most relevant and most recent ones. Some people don't quote the opposite camp's work. Suppose Professor Banerjee is my other camp doing the same work. I'll not quote your work. That is not ethical. Some people do this. Acknowledgements. It's unethical not to acknowledge help received from individuals and institutions. Be courteous, be magnanimous to say thank you for all the help that somebody has given. Yeah. When it comes to PhD defense, Dr. M. Murthy was my examiner, and he used to come to IIT Bombay for several times. We were very, very tidy. But when he was coming to the defense, I told my guide, sir, can I go and pick him up from the airport? He said, no, Shankar, you will not go today. It's not ethical. So I didn't go. Because I was a student and he was my examiner. And I saw one scientist from NAL who came to Mangalore University to conduct a virus. From beginning till end, he was just keeping quiet. Not a single word he uttered. And that's when I decided that I must not even prompt my student in his defense. Oftentimes, you have seen that the guide keeps on answering the questions posed to the PhD student. That's not ethical. It's his work, his defense. He should fight, not you as a guide. I said this to a senior colleague, probably Professor Banerjee. Yes, reviewing is a very important and responsible job. There have been articles on this, but how many do it responsibly is a big question. we sent a paper to the Journal of Environmental Radioactivity. It was rejected, giving a short paragraph. No reasons given. I wrote back to the editor, Murdoch Baxter. I said, this is not the way review is conducted. He got it reviewed again, sent back, and there were minor corrections. It was accepted. And second is Journal of Geological Society of India. The referee said, XRD data needed. I said, no, it's not necessary. Magnetic work. So again, it was accepted. And the second one is some atrocious comments were made by the opposite camp. I won't name who that is. Not Banerjee, in the work that I did. So I could make out from the way it was written that it was so and so. That's not ethical. Okay. As author, you need not be at the receiving end. You've got to fight it out if you are correct. Have the courage to fight it out with the journal. Don't accept it lying down. That's also ethics, huh? And I was chatting with the journal editor of a high impact journal. Reason for the high impact? He said, I asked authors of all my manuscripts to quote my journal papers. That's the way to increase your impact factor. That's unethical. Fairly understandable, I cannot speak. So if you are a referee, justify if you're rejecting and give comments to improve. You've got to help the author so that he will reach the stage of acceptance. Okay, as head of department or institution, be ethical while allotting space, funds, and facilities. This often doesn't happen. And while recruiting staff, purchasing computer from companies, I had issues with the university. I was opting for the lowest quotation and with all the specifications. The university said, no, you cannot buy from that. So there was a big tussle. There was an inquiry. I was censured. I appealed to the governor. Governor said, set aside the university order. So you will win if you follow the truth, the righteous path. Okay. Pursue truth, follow ethics, essentially follow dharma. What is dharma? By dharma, I do not mean Hinduism, Islam, or Christianity, or Jainism, Sikhism, but it is what? Having compassion towards all, being truthful to yourself and others, being modest and peace-loving, giving equal care and respect to all, be it a junior or a senior, showing decency and equality for all, discouraging discrimination of all kinds, protecting oneself from all sorts of harms and evils. And this part I took it from the internet, only this part. I should be ethical in accepting that. Hence, Satyam Vada Dharmam Chara, speak the truth and forget about it. Follow righteousness, Satyameva Jayate, only truth wins. However, upright trees are uprooted, but swaying trees survive, right? No? We can discuss that later, but I would like to leave you all with this thought, whether we should be upright or we should sway. So, if you want to adopt these tenets of ethics, or if you want to improve on your ethics, the time is now. That is the only photo I showed. Thanks to my family, my teachers, my guide, my students, researchers, scientists. Thanks for your attention, ladies and gentlemen. If there are any questions,
I have one comment. I like your slides, particularly for the youngsters.
yes.
One thing, in your next lecture, please add that often in university, what I feel is that choosing a research problem is very important. Many a times the student not involved in selecting the research problem for PhD. And that makes all the difference because they may be repeating something which has already been done. Yeah, and 2-3 years, they don't realize that they're just repeating the thing. So selecting a problem often becomes very critical. And that can only be done after reading, say, literature for 6 months. Then only then you can arrive at that what should be done. So often I have faced this thing in the university.
I covered this already.
Okay. May I? Moment. Just add to all that big list one important point here. But stick to your time when you are talking.
Do you feel tempted to exceed that time? Yeah, me too. I was about to say the same thing.
Schedule was 30 minutes to me. No, 30 minutes.
You practice it the time you have to do. You doing 60 slides for 10 minutes talk is unjustified.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Thank you very much, Dr. Shankar. Thank you. May I now?
I have a question.
Yeah, there is one question, Shankar.
So I have one small question. Suppose we are all advised to give some credit to Okay, thank you.
Hold the mic like this.
Thank you. So we are all advised to give credit to someone who is the original author. But suppose, for example, if we are making a map and the original author has made some mistake in the map, but subsequent authors have seen the mistake and modified it. Who merited the credit? Who
We talk. What's your job? Say that so modified by chemistry. Thank you, Dr. Shankar, and I welcome our online participants. Sorry, there was some glitch, I think, and you could not join, but I think now you would be able to join. With this, now I request Dr. Mishra to talk about effective realm of data sharing and seismological research. Mishra, you have 15 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, to this chair and all esteemed audience. I'm going to speak about the data sharing and seismological research with reference to our Institute, Ministry of Earth Sciences. And I've given some signage. It is what you give that matters, not what you have. And a geoscientist is regarded a very rich person if you have a wealth of the data. So if you go to foreign country, the professor asks how many data you have. Are you wealthy or you are poor? If you are wealthy, then you are respected by them because they will utilize our tools and will process the data, get the result and give to the public. So there is no way of doing one thing in the right way. And what the Professor Shankar has explained all these slides, that do the right thing always to get the right things. So this is for most of our young researchers who are not aware about the Ministry of Earth Sciences. I'm very happy that our former secretary, Professor Sarvesh Naik, is here. And of course, it is a very young Ministry of the Earth Sciences. It was culminated from DOD. It has 10 affiliated institutions having a lot of the mandate of doing of the lithospheres, the cryospheres, the atmosphere, everything. So we are the generating data of the Earth system science. And we are propagating the Earth science research. And Earth science research means that if the quality of the data will be created, authentic quality in the group, then the research outcome will be also the good. So the different institutions, the mandate is here, that what institute does what. And it is written that different institutions is doing the different mandate. And I actually belong to the NCS, which has a lot of the opportunity. And you know that the earthquake is most greatest disaster event, which is still a very challenging topic of the research. And to give the output that every research has its own meaning, but earthquake research has a lot of the emphasis because it has societal impact. We did with the National Center of Seismology with the earthquake monitoring round the clock, seismic hazard microgeneration, deep borehole investigation with Koina. When there is no subduction, there is no collision, there is no volcanic eruption, even there is the earthquake in intraplate of India. So a very flagship project of the world under the leadership of Professor Shailesh Naik in that time, we have drilled up to 3 kilometers in the peninsular part of the Karad, that is in Koina. And now we are going to plan for 7 kilometers. So we have a lot of the data generated, not only the surface data, but also the borehole data, borehole samples, research, and we're making available for doing a good type of the research. So if you come from, I'm very happy that Professor Singh is here. And I was one of the member in the program appraisal monitoring committee of geosciences. This was in 2012 founded when the Professor Singh was chairman, extramural grant in the geosciences. And we are giving the lot of the funding to the projects belonging to the different institutes, whether it is the state institutes, the central institutes, the IITs, the institutes which are doing the work for the industry related, the outcome having the implication to the social science related projects. Many things we are doing. And I can say that if you see the geosciences project grant, it was given to the each and every, actually the scientists who are affiliated to the different university, college, institute, NIT and IIT. This gives you a glimpse that how the data is being generated at the various levels who are supposed to work for the country in the geoscience scientific field. And it leads to the wide spread of the country, not concentrated only in a particular zone that if you are the rural area or the urban area, the balance we have taken. So north, south, east, west, and the northeast, all institutions have participated. And what the Professor Shankar had told that a rigorous process of the funding is adopted. And you can see in the 2012-2015, we have given about 175 projects through a rigorous processes. I will show that what processes followed in 2012-2015 because that is authentic data I analyzed myself. I was involved with that. Number of the research publications, 450 international journals have published, and PhD awarded 130. In that time, 50 theses under submission, 30 enrolled. All are now completed. So these are actually the authentic processes we follow to fund the project and create the good quality of the data. So project proposal received, the proposal review, that was done by the experts, independent experts, sent by the chairman, and one is equal to person of the committee member was actually the follow of the process. Consideration of the proposal by PAMC, processing of the proposal based on the recommendations of PAMC, and then sanctioning of the project. So you can see that there is the involvement of the technical committee as well as the financial committee of that concerned ministry. So it was very tedious that you have to justify your technical things and you have to convince the finance people that we are going to generate the data or we are going to generate the research for the public and societal benefit. So now come to the topic that ethics is the ethics, that mindset. Somebody telling that aajkal ke yug mein bolta hai meri marzi. That means they are not going to follow your rule. But ethics is the research, in the research are a set of the guided principles, it is conduct. And it suggests how scientific research should be conducted and disseminated. So my job is easier. Professor Shankar has already shown that. So research ethics administer the standards of the conduct by scientific research in terms of method, procedures, perspectives, what is going to do and what type of things that. But what was the benefit of the research ethics? But because the time is elapsing, if the student is enrolling for PhD, and if we are giving that I told that it was very painful, but it was rewarding. So we have to convince in the very beginning that it is not like in this stage. It was come to the schools levels, as you told that it is family and parents level. It will promote the aim and the research that what was this, the ethics is going to do what. And then what was the values involved in that following of the ethics. And then if you don't following the ethics or if you don't do the work or you do the work in wrong way, then you are the accountable. So that things is there. That's why in the data in the benefit processes, if the benefit of the ethics also lead to a public benefits, means you have the respects, the people will rely you that whatever generated is good. So of course it is moral and social values when the ethics follow. So since that ethics involves the moral and the social values, it is actually guiding the principles. I am slowly entering to that. Why should the research and organizations share the data? We are projects of the country, and all are the experts, or all the very high-level scholars, guided by the professors. They have the researchers. They are high-level intellects, but every time we are begging that you please give the data. So that means we are awarding the project. If he is not the ethics followers, how could he direct his own researcher or his own family members or own group members to be ethics? That's why the legal, ethical, and practical regions. So you can see ethical is the second part, but practical regions means if you are ethical, you are practically practical. And the legal means it is a break, that if you don't give the data, then you are liable for the legal actions. And Indian people in our state, if somebody were not paying the bill of the Airtel and the sub Vodafone, and they are asking give the money, and you are telling they give you the legal notice, then you suddenly go and pay that. But in our democratic country, legal comes the last. So the legal is the here to follow the ethics in the very beginning. To give our message program is already going on, but a person should be practical following the ethics if he has the fear of the legal actions. So there should be needed, which is really the gap area for that. I will tell you that repeated requests to get the data after a sponsorship is not getting, then what was the other way around? Just hamari marji, main nahi dunga, kya kar loge? So researchers conducting the publicly funded research arguably have an obligations to return the data they were paid to collect the public feedback. So if the principal investigators follow the ethics, then the organization or sponsoring organizations ethically will promote his research. continuing with the further funding. So researchers' self-interest, as there is some evidence that it leads to the increased citations of the original research. Some people are sharing the data. If a professor knows that if I will give the data, then maybe it is used by him and he will cite my paper, so my citation will increase. So this type of the self-qualifications comes if my science is going to be promoted. And data can be extraordinarily expensive and the time consuming. So collect the data from every primary sources is very difficult to do that. So equally positioned to extract the data quickly before sharing. People have the things that they go and please give me the data. I will do the secondary data and doing analysis and refinement of data, just like the catalog of the ISC, catalog of the International Seismological Bulletins catalog, USGS they're publishing, NCS is publishing their catalog, we are part of that. So they are refining our data, we are giving the data. Why? Prove that when the data we are generating is at part of the world standard or not. So sharing the data give you the authenticity that how good or how high quality of data you are generating and where you will stand among the world. That is actually the crux of things the people should understand. So if you see the USJ Open University, they told a lot of the things that data sharing, they have given that supporting publications and projects. These are all the advantages in a trusted repository with a metadata, which can give the information of the further information. Open as possible, available in 10 years. Sometimes there is the incubation period that after that cooling period, I will give you the data for 10 years. Some strategic points of data is there. Copyrights are there. We are writing a thesis copyright. Somebody is writing your data, but many are very clever. They can copy your data and they show that it is their data and they are using that. This is happening many things. I'm not going to name the scientists. So research data, a lot of the studies in many USGS, the research data are defined as the recorded factual materials commonly accepted in the scientific community. So it is a factual data you are collecting. Who will give you the authenticity? Of course, you can ask the trial your data, do the analysis, rigorous analysis, and prove that you stand at par of the facts. It is corroborated by the other findings also. You cannot say that what you have done it is final and what you have done is the factual fact. Beyond that, nothing. So that's why the data needs the reiterations, iterations, processing, reprocessing. Openness of the data gives you the confidence that, oh, I am going the data. Just like you see the doctors, they trial a lot of the testing their trial and then they found that they're discussing with their bosses and telling that, no, this is not way. That's why there is a medical board in most of the good hospitals. But in geosciences, whatever you will see, we have already generated. We think that we are the final, we are not giving the data. Even the quality of the data is not at par of the expectation. So publicly available data is structured in a way that enables the data to be fully discovered and usable by end users. If you give your data in public, then the critical professors can see that what data you have uploaded, it is the full of the flaws. Or whatever data you have uploaded, it is free of the flaws. So both things you are going to get is this there. That's why in the early days, Professor Celeste Max are joining, then IMD data was very confined. Nobody was releasing the data for that. Geological Survey of India also was the part. Earlier data was not given. But this argument is given that who is going to believe your data that this is good quality? So ask the comments. Then you can do that slowly down. The IMD has given its total entire data and the people are using that. Whether it is a rainfall data results, they have some preamble, so go on their site and do that. That means the openness of the data with open mind, it gives you the refinement of your concept and refinement of the using the good quality of data and the justice to the fund what you will be used in creating the data. So data sharing is very important in sense that in a proper way, I will know that the sharing of the data is always not good. I go to the next slides. So data may be deposited in subject repositories such as the databases, IRIS. Now we have the National Center of Network in India, HiNet, KICNet in Japan, various data portals of the Indian organizations. So the interesting is that I have taken a 4B on the Indian data portals of geosciences at the national level. Post of Geological Survey of India, wonderful job. I think the former Director General, Professor Wadhwan is here, Dr. Wadhwan is here. He knows that how he took a pain to make the VUCOS very active and dynamic, that whatever the information you are generating, Geological Survey of India earlier used to say the maps. Now map is digitized and VUCOS entire data is there. So Geological Survey of India open its data. And they believe that if the data will be wrong, if some scientists with the modern tools, they will judge that the data created by Geological Survey of India in the field setup program, FSP, field season program, Then it was a lot of the monitoring system in Geological Survey of India. Every time it was a group which refining the data, checking the data and doing that. One of the ISRO, it gives a lot of the information to us on sitting on laboratory, on your own offices and laboratory. Bhukamp, NCS, MIS, we have given the data. If there is a Bhukamp, we give you the two information. One is the first information, that is a preliminary determination of the earthquake 5. And after the 5 to 10 minutes, we are giving you the refined data set, using the all regional data and give you proper depth constant and the magnitude. Then BGRL MOS, I am going to show you the slides. Equal to good quality of the samples we have collected, and we are inviting the good scientists, good geoscientists to come up and analyze the work on our funding. Now, if I have given you the data with the fund, what we expect? We expect that your results should come to our repository, come to the Ministry of Earth Sciences, so that the generation can come and they can reanalyze and do that. Today, whatever the analysis done by present state of the art, it may be refined in the future if the advancement of technology will well. So that is actually the concept. But here in the ethics of data sharing, the conceptual challenges are, this is all for the students. Sharing of data for public.
Sorry, you have to wind up in another 2-3 minutes.
Okay. So sharing of the restricted data is also unethical, not ethical. Sharing of the right data set and processing tools are the ethical. Sharing of the wrong data set for the corrupted processing tools are unethical. I have given my tool to one student to give to others, and when he has given the program, it was not run by that scientist. He wrote me, your program is not running, it is the false. Then I checked that what program you got. I found that subroutines were deleted by the one student to whom I asked that give the program. So such kind of sharing of the bad quality of the data by corrupting himself is also the totally unethical. Sharing of the data set is unethical. Sharing data as per the MOU, written instructions is ethical. Sharing of the information about research of those who are sponsoring and funding is the ethical. No reference to the source. Nowadays, it is a very courtesy that publishing a paper, and I will not go to give you the name, that they have taken the point that tearing of the Indian plate in Andaman Nicobar in one paper, they are publishing in the title, they are not citing the paper. So this type of the unethical problems are there. So in international scenario, if you see 1, 2, 3 bullets, they ask that where is the willingness of the data? Again, at what condition? 91.3%. 89.4% willingness of data is a broad group of the researchers. So India needs to have to make such statistical type of things. So best practices of the data, advantage of share of the ethics, I am telling. So how can we ensure the ethics of different, collect the facts and the talk of the data with the various sources to notice the changes. And we can exemplify somebody, they are creating the data in a self-design, just like in COVID time, there is an earthquake prediction in the Delhi. I am not even name the scientist. In the newspaper, there is going to a big earthquake in the Delhi. It is creating a panic. It is totally unethical, having no rights to doing that. Scientists too is giving the information, but no panic. Such type of information, so many things are panic coming on, and news media asked to get a panic result. But we consult the person who is authority of the subject. When the S.K. Gupta, his bite has come, and he told that the occurrences of the smaller earthquake does not mean that big earthquake happened, so it is not valid for that. So the people believe on the only authenticity of that. So NSN data, all the satellite-based data in the CRS, we are doing all mathematical jugglery, we are doing all the analysis and giving a data to the public. And this is the data, we have the Bhukamp app, we have already given to the public, not only to the Indian, but all the regional offices of the world they are using and they are citing. So procedures of the data in the NCS is very critical. In the BGRL, you can see, this is a very good BGRL of borehole data. And you can see that how the samples of the deeper core we have collected in the core library. And this is open for observations through a proper procedure to take a project, and then you can do that. Similarly, seismic microgeneration data, this generation of the microgeneration data generate for public safety, because you have to update the existing building design code for the earthquake risk resilient. If the data will be corrupt, then what design will going to save you in the future earthquake? So it is a very critical aspects of the data generations of the free of the cost. And you will be happy that 10 years data of the seismological we have given to the public with all phase data, location and everything. That is first time happened, and this was after the very meticulous research in the 27th July 2022 by the Honorable Minister of the Earth Sciences. So central data. So I think that the research ethics is already the Venn diagram. You can see that it's all the things what Professor Shankar has given you can see many aspects of integrity, the respect, the rules, the regulations, justice, dignity, confidentiality, completeness, moral, ethical, values, privacy, honesty, benefits. But I am not agreed to only one point of the Professor Shankar, who told that if a student come with a box of the sweets and he will not take and they will go back. I used to take the sweet and distribute among all my group. That it is happiness, he's sharing, so please share and make multiply his joy. I've never heard a person who is coming to me to share his joy. So I think this is too critical as a professor. I think we have to motivate the students. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mishra. I think you have raised a very critical issue of the data sharing, and I know that this is many researchers do not share the data. So I think this is very important, and floor is open for any comments.
Yeah. Ethics can be different to different people, like the box of sweets. In fact, I did accept one piece of the sweet, return the rest to him. I didn't go into all the details. I didn't hurt my student, so one piece. So ethics can be interpreted differently by different people.
But I think the case is that very mergy. So I think it's your right. This is a lighter note I told you. So this approach, the ethics we are learning and we are motivating. The ethics must be not doing the wrong way, but motivating the students by convincing them, by giving a proper awareness of that. And I think the new generations are learning, a lot of things are going on. So I think this is most important. It's my first time when the Professor Banerjee has propelled me that you come and deliver lecture. I'm thankful to him. And then we found that it's very relevant to our data sharing policy of our ministry. So it's all right. Thank you very much. And we are also giving the researcher opportunity to guide the research. So about 20 researchers are guided by our own department. So and we are coordinating, Professor. Thank you very much.
Small observation. Thank you, Dr. Mishra. Very eloquent presentation. Remember way back in 2014, I think there was a national policy in data sharing that 2 years lock-in period is to be followed. So whatever data is generated through public spending, one can retain it for 2 years, and within those 2 years, if the authors are there, they are willing to publish it, they can publish it. Otherwise, it should be put in the public domain. Is that the situation now, or has it changed?
I think this is not strictly followed, because suppose the data today happened a very pertinent earthquake in Delhi, and if the many researchers ask that we want to do the research, in that case I cannot stop them. So we are giving the data to them case by case. If it is the defense related, it is a secret data, it was some binding. But for academic purposes, we are giving the data for doing the research, provided the source of the data may be acknowledged, or if the analysis will be the jointly, it is published jointly. So this thing is there. But of course, you are right. The data policy we are doing for the sponsoring agencies, Professor Nayak is here. We are strictly going to follow it. Cooler period for NHPC, what the GSI has done for the Devang project, you remember that, and they told that you cannot publish the data in the Devang multi-purpose tomographic data in 10 years. That is still it is a good work, and seismic design approved that. But now the 10 years passed, so we will publish the data from Geological Survey of India scientists involved as well as NHPC. So you are right that the guiding and MOU, we have to respect them, whatever this mention of this clause is there.
My second part is on publishing data in, for example, pediatric journals. Now, journals which may not have very high citing index, then many of the research institutes, maybe many universities, they insist that Scopus indexed journals should be preferred. What are your views on this?
I fully agree that we should avoid the printed journal, and we should not go for the journals which are grooming on a mushroom. We should have a very peer-reviewed journal having the reputations, because quality of the data, even if you're good and you are publishing the bad journals, I think you are also maligning your quality of data, and you are also the prestige that you are not able to publish the data because the result is not good. So we should not go for such type of journals. But some journals are good journals, but it is paid journal publications like Nature, and we recently published a paper in the Nature Science report, and it was publication charges is about 2,000 euro. So if it comes to the office for payment, they ask that what is the benefit for that, why not open research and all. So we have to convince that for wider audience or for your authenticity of your research among the world scientists, it is needed to go for such journal. So both cases are there because poor boys having no fund or somebody I want to get the job for none of the papers and all. They are hurriedly doing, but that should be, that is not a practice at all. It should be a stop.
Publish in Indian journals.
Indian journals are good, so current science are good, the Geological Society of India is good, even the JESS now is doing good. There are good journals in Indian journals. Even the impact factor was lesser, but very wider audience Indian journals have.
In fact, the concept of predatory journal which has come up, it is being criticized because they are publishing papers on payment basis without even getting reviewed. But the international journals, big journals, when the paper accept it, they also ask money, and if you don't pay, then you can't publish it. So what's the difference? Except that one in which you have a review and another one is no reviewing, but both are taking money.
So you are means you are submitting a paper in a journal who having no review. That means you are doing unethical to get the benefit in a wrong way. That you have a paper. So even if you are paying the prices of going to by air and you are going a comfortable journey and you are doing very good thing because you are eligible for executive class. Okay, it does not mean the paying the money. So I think peer review journal rigorous review. I think if your paper is rejected by Nature and Science, they will not ask the money. But
no, they do.
You have to
They do. I paid money.
This issue is
the money.
This issue is
to get the solution.
Vishwa, this issue is very important, and actually it is happening because of our obsession with the certain journals. And when you go for promotion, recruitment, you are asked where you have published, not what you have published, because we don't want to read the paper. So I don't want to read. If it is published in Nature, it is good. If it is published in Current Science, it may not be good. That is the concept which we have. And what Dr. Banerjee says is very important. You see, the researcher today, he works, he gets funding, he does work, he does everything. And then for publishing also, if he has to pay, in my view, it is very unethical. And the kind of money which is asked for publication is atrocious. I mean, it's something which is, it is not the charges there, even for publishing the whole journal, it won't cost that.
Yes, exactly, enormous amount.
Enormous amount. And I personally believe we should boycott those journals.
Yes.
And we should publish in our own journals in India. And if people wants to read what is being done, I think it may take some time, but it will happen. And many times, even some of the extremely good journal, I know when one of my colleagues found a mineral in moon rock, it was not accepted in one of the topmost journals. And I told him immediately, you publish in Current Science. And I know that reviewer published in the same journal after some time. So I don't think that those are all very honest and all that. There are many such cases. And I think it's very essential that we boycott those journals who charge atrociously, however high impact factor it may be. I don't care.
A particular point, I would like to retweet what you have said, that often the selection committee also, our fellow selectors are there, they ask that how many, where, but hardly they ask that what you have published, what science you have done.
Yes.
We were just discussing with Professor Banerjee a few days back this thing. I agree that nobody wants to read it. In all committees and all that, we are being provided with a list that this is the impact factor of this person has published in this impact factor journal. Now people are submitting their CVs with the articles, with writing and the end published in impact factor journal number 3. I think that journal number 3, that impact factor will give more importance to that paper. This is happening everywhere, but unfortunately, we are the all people who are sitting behind the desk asking questions, and we are following this thing. We are saying all these things here, but when we are sitting on the other side, we do the same thing.
We are guilty of it and we must condemn it. I just want to add one line. In April 2020, a paper was published, an article was published in Current Science, subsequent to a meeting of the academies, 3 academies. So it's in April, one of the issues in April 2020 in Current Science. So those interested, they may look up that. On the same issue.
Yeah. Yes.
Next, sir.
I was just want to say, one thing I wanted to emphasize here, that in this present day, when the internet is so much available and Google is available, that wherever you publish, it is available to other people. Even my paper, which was published in a seminar in Department of Geology in 1976, got referred in an internet paper published in publishing in Geodiversity of America. It was a global journal, but Google has brought everything available on research date. We are even referring to those research dates. Irrespective whether you publish in Nature or whether you publish in your local journal, doesn't matter. It is the matter which gathers. Whether there is information in that paper or not, that is what matters.
That kind of things coming with certain standards. I think then young generation will benefit. Because in our time, sir, in which journal we published and what happens, the impact factor every time still for us. It is good that we are going to change the mindset to publish the national papers in the national journals. Even I was the editor of the Indian Mineral Journal, this portal issue, many things we can develop in the science. I myself agree to that. But mindset is different. If you publish a paper in Science and Nature, as Professor Celestin was telling rightly, that even the good quality of the paper was rejected by both journals because a lot of the reviewers group. So all things are there, a lot of things are happening. So it is good that we will be part of that. IT journal is now doing very good under Geodiversity. So we try to give out the papers now. So I will encourage the young researchers to come. If there is a person who are facing the review for selection in the job, they must be considered in giving the weightage for that. It is not like that the person coming from the foreign country, doing the research, publishing the paper in Nature and Science, getting the job, and the Indian, Delhi University and some IIT, they have national paper, they got to get the job.
Okay, Mr. Raji. Okay, Mr. Raji. Vivek, you have a...
Yeah, just maybe 2 comments actually. One comment, or actually it's more of a request. We keep on talking about predatory journals. But very frankly, I think maybe I don't want to fix the owners. It is either on UGC or funding agencies like MOES or whatever to declare which are predatory journals. Because unfortunately what happens is that the invitations keep on dropping in. And journals give address of Switzerland, people can be very misled by that. Right. So I think some effort towards identification of such predatory journals and publishing those lists would be very useful.
There in UGC, there is a big list. If you open the UGC list, predatory journal, you get the whole list. And even also those lists which were originally there and they were rejected, that list is also there. 2 separate lists are available. On all subjects, in all subjects.
I think this is a very complex problem. Yeah, UGC has a list. Yeah.
No, it is there. It is there on internet. Go to UGC list and everything is there.
We can share the list with you. We have. So I think. Yeah.
Was that in fact, I mean, sorry to say this, but there are, it's more towards the Geological Survey of India, if I may, not wanting to be critical. There are several authors from the Geological Survey of India. I unfortunately had to review at least 6 of them in the last 5 months who are submitting papers to reputed journals. And unfortunately, what happens is they are citing work that they did probably 20 years back, and now they are publishing after retirement. How can we help this material to come into the public domain? In fact, I'm sympathetic to them. But this is ancient material, sir.
And we want Geological Survey to come up with all whatever they have.
I'll just give you a brief, very short reply. This was one guiding suggestion given to Dr. Owen Bhargav to us. Because we had our internal checks and balances and very long channel of getting it published, even for Geological Society of India. So he said, if you have good data and something new, something worth
publishing, give your home address. So there was no harm, and he himself has been publishing, he showed us the examples. So it is just to facilitate quick publication, not wait for 20 years till you retire and then you do it. Maybe. If you are doing it, then you have to upgrade it, update it, and then do it.
Wadawan sir, I think you are not updated about your own university. Just 10 days back, there has been a new regulation announced by the Director General Geological Survey of India that anyone who wants to publish a paper and come up with it, they can directly submit the paper to the journal without going through the departmental head. This has been it is a office order which has come up. I can show you give you the office order.
I'd like to make only one
10 days ago.
small point. See, it's very, I agree fully with you about payment, because at least universities can offer, we cannot pay that, it's out of the question. But the issue in archaeology, at least, there is the movement for open not only access, but also open review. There are many community review where the review process is also made open and accessible. So you know who is reviewing, and as Dr. Shankar said, the ethics of reviewing also. And second, unfortunately, the reality is we have published in Science and Nature and we have published in local Indian journals. Nobody is going to give me funding for publishing in local Indian journals. That is the reality I am facing. Nobody will fund me. So the pressure to publish in international journals where it is perceived, it's a perception that the review is more rigorous. That's a perception. It may be right or wrong, it's debatable, but definitely that's going to give me the funding to do my research. So I would prefer to publish there.
You are absolutely right. But that is what we need to change. That's okay. Thank you, Dr. Mishra. Thank you very much. And lot of Dr. Devesh.
Thank you, Chair. So in the beginning, let me tell you that I have 20 minutes, but I have only 7 slides. So I'll be able to finish. And I would also invite discussions if you have. The first thing is the topic has been given by Professor Banerjee, that is geoethics in paleontology and stratigraphy. I have never spoken on this topic, but followed this in principle throughout my life. Paleontology and stratigraphy, they shake hands, they are intertwined. And particularly to the youngsters, let me tell you, and particularly to Ashota, who is a young girl promoting paleontology education in schools, that fossil collection and being paleontologists are two different things. I wish Satish Tripathi would have been there. Being a paleontologist is entirely different from being a fossil collector. So whomsoever introduces to you as a youngest paleontologist of India, please correct him or her. Because you are a child, innocent child, and innocently, honestly doing your job. It is our duty to tell you that you are a fossil collector, you are popularizing the science, but you are not a paleontologist. But being a paleontologist, you have to be trained, and then and only then you become a paleontologist. Second thing is, you must know what is geological time scale. Many of us who are non-specialists, we forget that geological time scale is a non-linear scale. Non-linear scale means you can divide 4,600 million years of geological history. Every million year you can just put a line and divide into 4,600 divisions and name every division as one. This is not so. It is not a linear scale, just like the human life. that we are born in a particular year, then every year there is a history. But Earth history is known through only events, and geological time scale is heavily dependent on the events which have taken place on the Earth. There are louder events which define the era boundaries, eon boundaries. There are still smaller events, the period boundaries, still smaller events, epoch boundaries, stage boundaries. So geological time scale is non-linear. Say Cambrian. Cambrian is about 55 million year duration. That is a period, but Cenozoic era is 65 million year duration. That is era. So geological time scale is entirely based on the fossil events and respect them. I cannot escape showing you Sedgwick, Murchison, Darwin, and Lapworth. Ashwata, you must realize that when Sedgwick and Murchison, they were working in Wales, one was working in North Wales, Sedgwick was supervisor of Charles Darwin. And he was working in North Wales, Murchison was working in South Wales, and they named Cambrian and Silurian. But there were transitional strata, and they were not able to identify the graptolites then. And it took 44 years then to come Charles Lapworth, and then he defined Ordovician. So if you look at Cambrian, every stage, every division is based on a particular fossil. And they are of unequal duration. It's not a linear scale. And that gives the importance to the fossils. I will come to the ethics because this preamble is essential. And if you look at all these, mostly they are the trilobites. But here, if you come to the Ordovician, when Charles Lapworth named it 44 years later, you can see that most of the divisions are based on graptolites. So Ordovician waited for 44 years to be recognized till the graptolites, the fossils, they were identified. This is the importance, this is the power of the fossil. And realizing this power of the fossils, remember that for a person living in India, we say that Aadhaar card is Mera Aadhaar, Meri Pehchan. And Aadhaar is also Aam Aadmi Ka Adhikar. But remember that rocks do have their rights. Just like human rights, the rocks have rights. Rocks, fossil, that is Mera fossil, Meri Pehchan, and that is the right of every rock. Rock gets relative age from fossils. But do you know fossils get their relative age from rocks? Nick Steno's principle of order superposition, had it not come, you would have never known that which fossil is older or which fossil is younger. Remember, radiometric time scale is just a minor thing in the geological time scale. It keeps on revising. You look at 2021 geological time scale, the base of Cambrian is different. 2022 is different. Radiometric ages keep on changing. But the basic definition of the geological time scale, every interval is that it must be reproducible, must be recognizable, reachable, and then a physical event, that is a biotic fossil event, must be defining it. So this is very, very important. And now you look, the ethics come here. If you snatch Aadhaar card of a person, if you snatch his identity card, he cannot get any facility. Just like now comes the ethics, that you snatch a fossil from the rock, being a private collector, do not document its stratigraphic position, locality, anything. The fossil has no value and the rock has been deprived of its identity. These are the texts taken from elsewhere, the reference is there. Privately owned fossils cannot be guaranteed to remain available for study. There is a Carbosaurus example from Mongolia. It was being sold, auctioned. If you look at that paragraph here, there is no official law or code that prevents paleontologists from working on a privately collected specimen. I am against it. Being a paleontologist. Recently, the Journal of Cretaceous Research, Class 1, have come out with very strict guidelines that if you do not give what Vivek was referring to as metadata, you have collected fossil, you have bought it from someone, and then you are going to publish it. This is a practice very much prevalent even in the Western country. So now the journals are coming that you have to give the entire history of collection. Even you have to do some geotag photographs that once you went into the field, because if you don't do it, where from the fossil has come. And here I warn you, young girl, that once you collect the fossil from anywhere and you keep it at home, in my view, in the academic point of view, this is completely unethical. Collect fossil in the field and keep at home in your private collection. Because every fossil is a link in the geological history. From prokaryotes to DM energy, the whole history is there. Whole history is there in the paleontological record. And any fossil, if taken out from the rock, imagine when Schoenhofen limestone yielded the fossil of Archaeopteryx. Somebody would have, that was not a finding of a paleontologist. Rather, when the other fossil was reported from Germany about the Archaeopteryx with head, it was by a farmer, sold it. But all of these landed up to either the British Museum or the museum in Germany. Now, if you remove that and keep at your home, maybe the geologist who goes to the field, he misses the link between reptiles and birds. So this is very, very important not to allow such collections in the field. And here, I will say, the ethical issue is, I have been a student of BHU, I have seen tons of fossils from Kutch lying on the roof of geology department, not numbered. And when I was asked by Professor Alok Gupta at that time when Allahabad University Geology Department was established, Devesh, come here and teach invertebrate fossils. I was a micropaleontologist, I am. Then some senior professor advised me, Devesh, go to the roof and you will get all kinds of specimens. And I got it. I got beautiful ammonoids, brachiopods, many things. And I gave it to Allahabad, but only for display because I didn't know from which lithostratigraphic horizons they come. Students go to tours, say MSc tour to Kutch, and they have hammer and satchel. And now they can wreck. There is no law which prevents them from taking an ammonoid without making any litho log, without numbering it. They take it ammonoid, get it polished and use as paperweights. So what you are doing, you are removing a very crucial information because entire Jurassic biostratigraphy, Cretaceous biostratigraphy is based on ammonoids. And Kutch is your classical locality. And if you are removing them, 20 students with hammer and satchel going there and collecting fossils and bringing them and dumping in the department so that it becomes part of their dissertation, that is completely unethical. And there is no law to prevent that. So these issues I wanted to raise here because there is nothing like ethics in paleontology. And I still remember the last slide of Professor Banerjee. Self-policing is required. We, the professors, we should prevent them. This is my last slide. Should give you relief. But There's a lot of discussion. So I have dealt with amateur and private collections. Vivek yesterday told a beautiful sentence, exposers don't lie. But if you take out the fossil, take out the information, the exposer has nothing. It has no voice even. It cannot tell anything to you. Then about metadata, which Vivek mentioned, I liked it. I liked it very much. Now look at, this is a species called Geodiverity bouloides. This is widely used to know the monsoon upwelling in the Arabian Sea and many places. But this is not Globigerina bouloides. This is Globigerina nella obesa. Hardly any difference. I have seen, and Ashu, my student and now associate professor at Delhi University, we have seen in some of the labs where people pick it for isotopic analysis, they have not picked the right species. And in isotope, there is effect called vital effect. Once you pick the right species, only monospecific population, then only you get the correct data. But you keep on picking similar looking without involving the paleontologist. And now this paper published by Ashutosh, these are the varieties of bouloides, which are phenotypes, and they have each a different vital effect. So the metadata means here, I would say that once you publish that you have done isotopic analysis of Globigerina bouloides or any other species, pick at least 50 specimens, take their photographs and submit it to the journal as metadata that this is my concept of this species is. If your concept is wrong, then your data is going to be wrong because it is a destructive thing, because bouloides is no more mass spectrometer has eaten it. So how to know that what was your concept? And Ashutosh was doing a postdoc in PRL, and he could see he helped my old friend Ramesh, who is no more. And that is why Ashutosh went there. But many of the specimens they picked, he corrected it. They were not Globigerina bouloides. So this very, very important fact I want to make, that metadata, even in the census counts, that whenever you do statistical analysis, that this species, that species, please illustrate, please have in assemblage slide mounted and mention that all these mounted counted specimens are lodged in this department, in this cabinet. Here it can be approached and verified. Thank you.
Thank you, Devesh, to complete writing time. And any comments? I understand there is a comment by Dr. Arun.
Yeah, Devesh, it's very sad if an opportunity to collect a fossil is lost. But what's happening is a wholesale covering rock outcrops all over Himalayan sections, road sections in concrete. That is, say, what if a fossil is picked, another one may get exposed in due course in landslides or whatever. But if you cover rock outcrops in thick concrete as big as 2 meters and as tall as 100 meters, and you deny generations of geologists any opportunity to collect or observe or even take a dip and strike. And it's been happening for 11 years. And I'm told it's happening across the country in these road development in the name of safety, in name of our defense, etc., etc. And all those roads are breaking up, but those concrete barriers are there forever, for centuries.
Yeah, I agree with you. I totally agree with you what you say. But this is why this meeting is there. It's people who are policy makers, they should see about it.
I request there should be a resolution from this meeting that it should be guided by geologists.
I don't think, Dr. Arun, this is not the place to make a resolution on these aspects.
Devesh
is saying, but I'm telling as a chair of this session, this is not the time here we are for a resolution of any kind.
Then
and we are here to discuss. You have been making this point again and again, and it was appreciated yesterday, but we are not here to make any resolution. Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, please. Yeah, George.
माइक पे बोलिए।
बहुत बड़ी तादाद में सर, काफी बड़ी संख्या में तादाद में फॉसिल बड़े एक्सटेंट पे सैकड़ों स्क्वायर किलोमीटर से हर दिन जाते हैं। ऐसी संख्या में, ऐसे स्थिति में सर हमारा डेटा तो लॉस होता है। यदि ये इसकी तुलना में हम यदि कलेक्टर्स के लिए एक इंस्ट्रक्शन लिस्ट वो बना दें, गाइडलाइन बना दें कि आपको स्ट्रैटिग्राफी और इस तरह से करने के बाद ही आपको अधिकार होगा कलेक्शन का, तो शायद हम बीच का रास्ता निकाल सकते हैं सर।
आपका सजेशन ठीक है। इस तरह से बहुत सारे सजेशंस कल से दिए गए हैं, तो मैंने तो 20 मिनट में जो एक एस्पेक्ट है वो आपको बताना चाहा है। इस सब पे तो काफी डिस्कशन कल भी हो चुका है। मैं खुद भी अरियालूर में गया था, वहां पे आपको याद होगा राम कुमार जी ने एक बार डायनासोर का नेस्ट रिपोर्ट कर दिया, और वहां पे गांव वालों ने इतना वेंडलिज्म कर दिया कि वहां डिस्ट्रिक्ट मजिस्ट्रेट को कई लाख लगा के पूरा बाड़ लगाना पड़ा। There was a team visited when Ashok Sahni was there. I was also there. We went there, and it was found that none of them were dinosaur eggs. लेकिन तब तक लूट मच चुकी थी और बहुत लोग जाके वहां खरीद भी चुके थे। तो ये सब बहुत सारे इश्यूज हैं जो कि मेरे ख्याल से कल काफी डिस्कशंस में आ गए थे, तो इसीलिए मैंने उस पर नहीं देखा। आप अरियालूर में जाएंगे तो आपको ये बहुत ज्यादा रैम्पेड प्रैक्टिस मिलेगी। थैंक यू सर।
Sir, can I get 1 minute? So first of all, I know my age is 15, and maybe the fact of being an young paleontologist may be different. I accept it from everyone's point of view. But on the fact of documenting fossils, typically when I started working, when I was almost at the age of 10, though I did not have a proper understanding of documenting fossils, later I was guided by one of the senior most geologists, as you all know, Ayasami sir, and then we started documenting my fossils. But anyhow, when the idea of documentation comes, two questions. Number one, you have various institutes, universities, etc., as you said, who go for collection. You say documentation is important, you document only certain fossils, the rest are waste anyhow. As you mentioned, you were able to get some ammonites, brachiopods, etc. from the roof, but not just roof, everywhere, any university, including Geological Survey of India, that too in Chennai, specimens are of waste. What do you do for that? Nothing, right? Anyhow, and moreover, the
You have a question to me?
No,
Yeah.
no, it's not a question.
So just to help you, because the chair is eager, the next speaker is there. Whatever you have said, I have also said that the specimens which are not documented and lying here and there should be discouraged. And here we are meeting to highlight all these issues. So you are correct. And that is why I said whether it is a private collection or a collection by a group of students, any fossil in a rock is a treasure. And it should not be allowed to be extracted without proper documentation. And that is what you have been also reiterate.
For the point of you saying about personal collection, I wanted to mention this because I'm not doing it without any documentation. So I just want.
I have not said your personal collection. This personal collection is world over. Because there is no time. Let me tell you that the vertebrate fossil from Gobi deserts, they were being sold for millions of dollars. Auction was stopped. That Mongol, what is Tabor sword? So there are many cases, not from India only. Not from India. The fossils are sold. So this issue I wanted to, because in 20 minutes you cannot have everything.
Yes. Thank you very much. No, I think we will discuss this over lunch. No, this is a private between two of you. You can do it this. Okay. May I now request Dr. Wadwan? Yeah. Well, very perfect. Thank you.
Very good afternoon to you all. I'll be talking on geodiversity and geoethics. In fact, there was a discussion was the evening yesterday where exactly we really define the differences between the two. So since the discussion has already taken place, I think I can skip the initial slides and then focus on the potential heritage stone resource on laterite. Next slide, please, or I can do it here. Yeah. So these are the definitions which I could browse through, and the initial expert who really proposed this geodiversity day, that is Jose Goya. He has published that geoheritage is a subset of geodiversity, and therefore, if there is any scientific value attached to it, only then we should label it as geoheritage. Otherwise, it's all geodiversity. This is the international practice he had proposed, and international body had accepted it. Well, of course, there are in situ geoheritage sites and ex situ, that is the part of the museum. This also has been discussed. In the morning also there were presentations on this. And of course, there are threats which are happening on these various sites. And the sites which are having outstanding universal value, they really need to be protected. And protected by whom? This is, I think, going to be part of the panel discussions again, once again. Although Geological Survey of India is mandated to identify and initially protect it, but then it has to be sustained over long efforts. And again, there is very standard criteria for selecting or making assessment of geoheritage sites. It has to be representative. It must have scientific knowledge attached to it. And there should be good documentation on this, good detailed laboratory backup research and all that should be there. And it should be available as a part of a dossier. Then it should be having unique and best amongst the several sites, so that we can narrow down on the final representativeness of this. So rarity is the important aspect, and integrity. Integrity means that what status is it there? Whether it's degrading or whether it's being threatened by some other agencies for annihilation or for removal. So that integrity part is also important, because conservation aspect will take care of this particular nature of that integrity of the site. Of course, there are different types which are selected by Geological Survey of India, and 8 major types are there. And one important one is the geological deposit or the rare minerals. It is here I would mention that this heritage stone concept, which has been very nicely elaborated by Professor Gurmeet Singh yesterday. And since I've been working with America University in Kerala for the last 3-4 years, and we are working on the landslides. And for landslides, we need to characterize the slope forming material. And as part of those studies, we have been studying several sections of the soil formation, and laterite is very important formation in this part of Kerala actually. Most of the western Ghats, they have laterite. And then we notice laterite has been used in many of the ancient and historical buildings. And therefore, I think it deserves the consideration for declaring as a stone resource. Though maybe it should be a global heritage stone resource, but then more details are needed to be fortified for this kind of claim. But then whatever I could gather, I'll just make a small presentation. Thanks to Dr. Banerjee, who asked me to make a presentation almost at the 12th hour. So I have put some things together, but I think a lot more needs to be done, and I'll be taking further guidance from Dr. Gurdeep Kaur for how to proceed further in this. So laterite, as we all know, most of the geologists know that it's a residual deposit. It is a product of prolonged chemical weathering, in situ weathering, wherein the residual parts are left as oxides from various different parent rock types, charnockite, granite, even basalt. And I myself worked in Saurashtra on basalts. Different types of laterites are there. And they have a variable content of iron oxide, and associated nickel and chromium also. And some of the laterites in Kerala, they were published by our own colleagues in GSI, which had magnetite actually. So its density is variable from 10 to up to say 25, depending upon the content of the iron, mostly iron oxides and other clay minerals. And they are developed through leaching of silica and breakdown of aluminosilicates into their constituent oxides. And well-drained, medium, hot and wet tropical climate is needed. So these are the indicators for its formation, climatic indicators. And we also know, as per their occurrences in India, particularly peninsular India, that they developed from mid-tertiary to mid-quaternary. That means around 35 million years to say 1.5 million years ago. So this time bracket is also indicated. That means it is having stratigraphic significance also. So, and best part, which after going through the literature, we find that Francis Hamilton Buchanan, he is a surgeon working for East India Company from Scotland. He was the first man to identify and describe laterite from Indian conditions in Malabar Hills in Kerala, right? And it was way back in 1807. So this fact in itself is of a heritage nature, you know. And since he described these laterites, a lot of research has been done South India as well as in Southeast Asian countries where laterite is occurring, and it is being used in various monumental iconic buildings, including temples, forts. So this itself is a very old use for the laterite as construction material. And I was talking to Dr. Shanti Papu. She said there are megaliths also built with laterite in Kerala. So that is an additional information which will fortify our claim for getting laterite declared as a heritage stone from Peninsular India. And the best part is it can be cut very easily with an axe. That is the traditional method of cutting it. It can be cut into different blocks. And we see the nature of laterite, which is having a lot of cavities and open spaces. It has got a lot of moisture holding capacity. And most of the foundations of even modern buildings is being built with this particular stone. And of course, now with the application of technology, they have brought in this cutting machine. It's a small mini tractor kind of unit which can cut the laterite into regular shapes, and it is being used even now. These are the photos from Kasaragod, northern parts of Kerala. So these are the quarries, and we see the engineering characteristics of this particular laterite and chemical composition, and it's remarkable that as it dries, its UCS value, its load bearing capacity increases, you know. And then the recognition and description of laterite in India conform to certain fundamental geochemical features, which include presence of large amounts of iron, aluminum and manganese oxides, and of course titanium is also there in varying proportions. Depletion of free silica, that is quartz, this is not available in larger quantity, up to say 30% it is there, but in the original rock, the quartz quantity could have been more than 50% at times. Then high amount of alumina that is necessary to combine with silica to form kaolin, and negligible bases and alkalis, which are actually additional features that are observed in laterites hardening of the rock when exposure to air. So these characteristics are actually making it eminently feasible for its use in the construction, in the building industry. And Geological Survey of India declared this as a geological national monument way back in 1979. Although it's in a very bad shape, it's not properly preserved. But then same in the nearby locality, laterite is used in a religious place. It's a heritage religious site, and it is maintained by Guru Ayur Devasam, and it is very nicely maintained. You know, this is one point I was also mentioning, that most of the geoheritage sites, if they are related to some religious sites, then they get, possibly they get better acceptance and protection by the local community, by the people also. So our private interest is also developed for protecting and safeguarding such buildings. Even in Goa, we have this old ancient church, Basilica of Bom Jesus. So this is also built entirely with laterite. Even now, modern pavements are also being constructed with the laterite blocks. So this has got a prevalent use amongst the locals right from the ancient historic times. And I could visit this particular fort in Kurd, in Medicare, wherein this fort is also built initially with laterite and later on, fortified with other rock types. And even modern houses in Kerala, they also build in traditional style using laterite as one of the major components. And of course, in northern parts of Karnataka, we have this Bidar fort built with laterite. Again, we have this Taj Baudi, again Bijapur area, again built with entirely with laterites. So there was very prevalent use of this particular material, wherein iconic, ancient and historic buildings have been built with laterite, and therefore it deserves to be listed as a global heritage stone. And I'll give you why global, because again, Mirjan Fort in Uttara Kannada, it's built with laterite. Modern buildings also in Bangalore, and famous temples are also built with this in Bangalore. Bekal Fort, 17th century fort in Kasargod is built with laterite. Important aspect for global claim is that even in Southeast Asian nations, for example, Cambodia, the Angkor Wat and various temples, they were built with this particular spirit. And there are several examples in Thailand, maybe parts of Malaysia, Laos, Vietnam. Many of these old ancient buildings have been built with laterite, and therefore there is a definite claim for laterite to be included in global heritage stone resource. So its widespread occurrences in peninsular India, and its primary use as dimension and building stone in ancient heritage buildings and iconic monuments of force. This is available, we can see it. And its unique geological nature of residual type of rock, which was described for the first time in India by Buchanan. And then it's having, now we know it's having a unique stratigraphic significance also. So therefore, thanks to Professor Gurmeet Kaur, in fact, she wrote one article in Geological Society explaining these things, and that really enlivened and really encouraged me to write a short note on this, which is accepted for publication in Geological Society of India. So thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you very much to complete right in time. And if there are any comments, yeah, please.
Yeah, regarding this laterite, the geotourism aspect, it is by a doctor, Dr. Buchanan. Yeah, it is not by a geologist. Number one. And number two is, these laterite mines, many people don't know, when you mine them, it is very easy to make them into shapes.
Yeah.
Very easy, but left the elements, they become very strong. So when people see the laterite on a wall, they think that even in the mine, when it is mined, it is like that.
Yeah.
So it is because laterite is the fourth type of rock. And it can be generated from any rock type.
That's right.
So the geotourism aspect of it. Enjoy.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, please.
To add to your heritage value, the first Paleolithic stone tool in India was found by Robert Bruce Foote within laterites at Pallavaram. And most sites lot of sites in Peninsular India, Paleolithic sites, are within laterites, quaternary or ferricretes or derived sediments.
Excellent. No, that's really excellent addition to my information. And maybe with the help of Professor Gurmeet Kaur, I'll expand it and include the later observations also. That megaliths that you were mentioning. Thank you.
Yes.
Please unmute. He's not muted, I think.
Vadavansa, here in Boston too, most of the buildings have massive granite and gritty sandstone. It's an ancient town. I wonder if our discussion of heritage stones should come over to USA too. Nobody seems to be bothered about declaring these rocks in a famous city as heritage stones of USA.
Okay, that's just an observation for Boston. We are not worried about Boston at the moment.
Why? We should worry about the entire planet.
No, that's right. But my topic is for laterite in India, peninsular India,
Yeah,
not Boston.
Fine.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'd like to say that I would be leaving any time now, and Dr. Banerjee would be chairing because I have to catch a flight. I had planned for 1:30, but it looks slightly will be delayed. But I really enjoyed the discussion, and the very good issues came up, and I'm sure Dr. Banerjee would be putting all together into a report. So I would like to thank all of you, all the speakers, and especially Dr. Notial, who have been very meticulously and quietly keeping the notes of this session. So thank you very much. So please excuse me, I will be leaving around 1:25, 1:30. But I didn't want to disturb.
I therefore thank Dr. Nayak beforehand, before he leaves, because he may leave quietly. I thank him for conducting the session in a very meticulous manner and putting everybody in, try to put everybody on time. Okay. Okay, thank you, Professor.
Good afternoon to all. Well, I'm not sure whether many people are aware of this program that GSI is running. It's called National Geochemical Mapping Program, or in short, NGCM. So in this context, I would like to add a few views which may be considered personal because I am a retired person. Okay. I'm a retired from GSI a long time back. And since I was associated on the initiation of this program for almost 7 years, so I kept on evaluating the outcome of this program even after my retirement. So that gave me an opportunity to assess whatever progress has been made with this particular project in Geological Survey of India. And incidentally, I'm a student of Dr. Banerjee. I belong to the first batch of MSc, Delhi University Geology Department. So it is his request that I'm keeping and I'm talking on this subject. So I just go through some of the notes that I made. So since we are talking on ethics, science is built on trust. And this is a quote I have taken from Mr. D. Kapoor's recent publication in the Geological Society of London. It was published in 2021. But while this crisp statement, science is built on trust, we accept this is associated with two more things. So it implies that scientist has to be honest, scientist has to be ethical. Okay, fine. But it has also two more things associated with it. These two things are anything or any program that is conceived for a department, for example, say GSI, the stability of the action of the mother organization that implements the program has to be assured. That means it has to continue with a objective that it started a program, and being a long duration program, that stability is very important. Secondly, as in GSI, being a subordinate department to Ministry of Mines, there is a lot of guidance or pressure from the ministry. So that has to be a very rational one. That means the GSI has to be given that freedom to implement this program as the scientific requirement of this program is deemed in the initial phase of its planning. So all the financial and ethical support of the ministry is very important. So with this preamble, and since I said that many people are not aware of the program that NGCM program GSI is running, is a very vital program necessary for societal as well as development of the country's mineral requirement or find in the future. So as the program is known as NGCM, we shortened it because National Geochemical Mapping Program elsewhere in other countries also have an acronym. For example, the RGNR program of China is a similar program. So NGSM was initiated in 2001. And this was after a lot of persuasion. GSI wanted to carry out this kind of a program or project, but it was only in the 10th 5-year plan that Government of India gave its approval and the financial support. So we launched this program in the field season 2001-2002. And being a very, very new kind of work, there was a lot of planning, both in the conference rooms, in individual capacity as and in a group, to find the right kind of approach to this program. And in that perspective, there was a larger meeting held in Bangalore in the year 2000, where a lot of expertise from GSI's think tanks went into this project to how to implement this program in a pan-India format. So this is the pan-India format or pan-India result at this point of time of the NGCM. This is showing distribution of just one mineral, and we have covered right from Himalayas to the Kerala coastline and from east to west, leaving certain gaps for obvious reasons, which I will come later. So now, when we started with this program, the immediate difficulties were manpower and laboratory support. Firstly, we till this date, GSI laboratories were analyzing rock or for exploration purpose ores. So they had a concept in the laboratory about percentage values of certain elements, and in case of base metals, maybe a few 100 ppm values were in their minds or in the inventory of those laboratories. But this particular program needed our values of elements to come down to almost ppb level. Crustal abundance level was the lower detection level that we had kept, and the inventory was almost the entire periodic table. That means we were analyzing 68 elements of these programs. So that was a huge requirement, which possibly the laboratories had to be geared up for that. And also the planning part of sample collection, what to sample, how to number them, because there was no precedence in GSI. Neither we had any help from any other source, whether it is another country's work or because this is not documented in that manner that we would follow it. Anyway, we had to decide, we had to find out the way out, and it took us 2 years, both in the field as well as with the laboratories of GSI, to come to some legitimacy of collection of samples and the generation of the data. So after, say, the second field season or third field season, we could finally decide how we should collect the samples by grading a topo sheet, because our unit of work was one topo sheet, 2 geologists, and the chemical laboratory, of course. How to collect the samples with a particular format of grading, what to collect, how much to collect, and how much it should be analyzed, or in what format it should be analyzed. So our unit of collection of sample, first of all, our medium was, the basic medium was stream sediment, failing which, because everywhere we don't have proper dissection or streams, we decided to collect the slope wash material to represent 1 square kilometer in this first square is 1 square kilometer, which is in the south western corner of the topo sheet. So from here we proceeded grading this entire topo sheet, and we went like this in a ladder format and numbered them in this form, in which we knew where the sample was coming from, which cell, and which is the medium that is being collected, which is the year that is this program has been carried out, and the topo sheet number. So all these information came with one sample, and then how much to be collected, that was split into 4 components and composited for the analytical part. But keeping all these samples in a storage, proper storage, so that we could retrieve it later on for any other purpose. For example, this is the kind of storage that we created. for the unit cell and for the composite cells. Now, before we go to the field, in this case, the very important thing is to locate ourselves on a topo sheet in the headquarters from where we will be collecting those samples. So for that, we took the help of topo sheet as well as the satellite imageries. And we located tentatively every sample point on the topo sheet after gridding it. And roughly 700 points emerge from the unit cells in one topo sheet, which measures roughly 700 square kilometer in the middle latitude, but it could be slightly more in the northern and slightly less in the northern and slightly more in the southern topo sheets, South India topo sheets. So roughly we have kept 700 as the measure. So 700 samples are generated from one topo sheet and they are composited. That means 4 unit cells, adjacent unit cells are composited. That generates or that makes 182 composite samples which are being analyzed. If there is any anomaly in that one composite cell, then we fall back on the unit cell to find out where exactly that anomaly is coming from. And along with sample collection, there is an elaborate data sheet that gives location, precise location, that gives kind of sample that is being collected, from what kind of stream it is being collected, or whether it is a slope wash material, what is the geology of that area, roughly in that cell, and any kind of anthropogenic activity that has taken place within the cell, for example, agriculture or any kind of man-made destruction of that particular place, or any health issues that are linked to that particular area. That is recorded within this data sheet. So this data sheet is also very important from NGCM point of view. This is the kind of analysis that we are doing. That means we are using multiple instrumental techniques, and in the bracket you will find the lower detection level of each of the elements. Now, for example, the two basic instruments that are being used, for example, XRF and ICP-MS, these are calibrated with international standards, because large number of elements come in the gambit of these two instrumental techniques. And recently, we have 6 laboratories which are doing this kind of analysis in GSI, 6 regional laboratories. These laboratories have been NABL certified for these two instruments. So now, coming back to little of the history for this NGC and why we took up, because there was one IGCP 259 for creating a geochemical database globally. Though GSI did not join this group, but GSI, because there was a time lag, but GSI followed most of the guidelines that was provided in this document. So this is the gentleman who took the onus of creating this particular data set or this document. And before that, most of the countries, in this particular data set, there is a list which shows globally how many countries have
gone through this process of doing geochemical mapping, what process, what sample intervals they kept, or what instruments they took into consideration for the analysis part. And it was found that in case of India, the value was zero. There was nothing so far as geochemical mapping was concerned. So, see, this particular type of work has been going on in the world. For example, one example from UK is 1960. And at that time, they wanted to do this work for mineral exploration purpose, but later on they found that it could be used for other things like knowing the areas of pollution or knowing about ambient condition of certain nutrients in the soil. So it was turned to a multiple objective survey with the help of this particular program. Now we come to a very important program, that is RGNR program of China, which GSI is under NGCM program is largely following this guidelines or this type of work that China did. And if you read through this text, you will find that they did sampling in 1 square kilometer grid, and the net result is very interesting. The result that they generated for example, the outcome was of this particular program, in case of mineral exploration, they could generate 60,000 anomalies of different elements, out of which 700 new mineral occurrences they could locate, and 158 of those became economically viable. And this work is based on just 39 elements. I mean, we are doing 68, but they did initially 39 elements. And 6 million square kilometer area was covered by this particular survey, GNR, which was further continued in the later part of this started in 1979, so it's still continuing in different sectors of China, particularly Gobi Desert. So now, out of this program, not only they generated information on mineral exploration, but they also found very important information on human health. For example, certain areas where there was low there was a area with low MO content, a large area with low MO content, and it was correlated with cancer of the esophagus in that area. Similarly, they also found that particular kind of cropping is inhibited because there was low MO in the soil. So these are large areas which are now they have correlated with human health. So that means out of this data, they could generate information on mineral exploration for the purpose of mineral exploration and for the purpose of human health and also pollution. That is anthropogenically added pollution. Now, this particular program for mineral, since we are geologists, so our interest goes to mineral exploration, they laid much emphasis under this in China on the geochemical mapping, which yielded almost large number of their deposits after 1991. These all came from their geochemical mapping programs. But now I should start summing up the thing that this particular program has got a multiple objective. It is not simply exploration for minerals. For example, see, this is our project. Our project, NGCM project, which we started in 2001. This is one area in Rajasthan, and this map shows one degree sheet information where you can see, yes, where you can see a cadmium high zone colored in red. And cadmium is a very poisonous element so far as human health is concerned, human and both animal health is concerned. So we get a prominent cadmium high in this zone, which is along one of the rivers. This is Banas River. And this particular pollution is coming from the industry which is upstream in Chittorgarh. Chittorgarh is down here. So we have a zinc smelter, we have several cement industries. So the entire information on pollution, which was not available earlier, has come out through this particular program. Same thing for lead, that's also very harmful. So some of the information pertains to mineralization. For example, this is a mineralization related information. This is also a mineralization related information. So is this. But this is pollution, and there is a part pollution here as well as here. So that means two informations are available through this. Arsenic. We all know that arsenic is also not very good for human health. So, and mind you, this particular area is not small. This is what 11,200 square kilometer area covered by 1 degree sheet. Now I come to one ethics or problem. For example, Geological Survey of India today has completed almost half of the country by geochemical mapping. And if you just consider that 182 samples come out from one topo sheet, how much area or how much data has now accumulated in the coffers of GSI under this NGCM program, and why this data is not being shared? That is my question. Because, for example, in this map I show, we have, this is a map of uranium and thorium. So those high areas of uranium, thorium, I am not sure or I am not aware whether these informations are shared with AMD, Atomic Minerals Division, or other stakeholders who are interested in them. Because we have a lot of elements which are showing very anomalous concentrations, and maybe there may be other stakeholders who can utilize that data, whether it is RE or things like this. So this is what I want to say, that here the ethics lie, that our institutions or our organizations like GSI, AMD, ONGC or other, or even ICMR, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, they can share certain data related to nutrient values in the soil or in the regolith of the country. So we have to share this data, because this data has taken a lot of resource from manpower to finance to be generated over the last 20 years. So they need to be shared with other organizations and we find meaningful answers from whatever has been generated so far. So thank you very much, sir, for that.
Question? Anybody wants to have any clarification or any other comment? Sudesh, any comment?
Yeah, thank you, DJ sir. Yes, it is a very ambitious program. My small query is that nowadays we are looking for deep-seated ore deposits. No, but can GCM help in that? Because I don't know how far that signal of geochemical signatures they penetrate the ground.
The GCM geochemical mapping program of this nature is not really directed at mineral finds or looking for minerals. But yes, you can have zones of interest with certain, say, high values of chromium, high values of nickel, or high values of rare earths. So we can say that we can launch certain programs in those areas. But the thing is that most of the time we are doing the survey in soil covered terrain. So how far this is effective to locate what is happening deep down, I don't think it will be very.
Even those times, maybe 2014 when I retired, my emphasis was we must integrate this data with geological map and also with the geophysical findings wherever they are finalized. But what is the latest position now? Because unless we integrate
Yes. There is a process of integration going on with, because parallel to this we have the National Geophysical Mapping Program. So there is a integration between these two informations taking place in GSI at the moment, and that's a very positive sign. So after that, they are planning those new areas of search.
how long will they take it? Yeah? Well, more than, how you said, 18 years they have been doing.
Who?
So, but how many of these sheets are converted to mineral exploration?
NGCM program is terminating this year, this field season. This is the last field season for that. I don't know whether it is right or wrong, but the order has come from Ministry of Mines to close it down this year. So this is the last year for NGCM program, but NGPM, that is National Geophysical Mapping Program, that might continue.
Dasgupta sir, my compliments for a great talk. It made me very nostalgic. I wish the respect to geochemical samples is also shown to geological samples across the circles of GSI. My Nuskel samples, which I collected in 73, were lost until the locality became world famous and fresh collections were made. In BGS Nottingham, a sample from across the world can be retrieved in 10 minutes. I wish same could be said about Geological Survey, about the curating. Thank you so much. Great talk.
Sir, thank you. Okay, but somebody else also work from the, yes, so go ahead, please. Your name is not coming clear. Okay.
Please unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Unmute. We can hear you.
Unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Noted already. Okay. Sir, I thank Dr. Dasgupta for his excellent lecture. But I wish GSI has taken the areas of interest, particularly isolated the areas affected by arsenic or fluorine like that in different parts of the country and helped the country, at least help in giving an alternative solution to those areas. That's one thing. And I agree with him in the final session that data should be shared with all the departments because GSI has used the government public funds and it should be made available, data should be made available to everybody. That's my view. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any reply? You want to reply? Yeah.
Use of national geochemical mapping or deep-seated ore deposits, since the dispersion of ore minerals also takes place, ore elements also takes place, it can be used as a primary tool, a primary exploration tool for the ore deposits, even for deep-seated also. Because the rocks, if it is syngenetic, I think same rocks, it cogenetic also, or co-magmatic also. I think so some fraction of the ore elements may be there in the rocks also. So it can come in the soil samples also.
I think as Dr. Gupta explained, the integration of geophysical data, which goes deeper also, that will really give us a correct picture.
That is correct picture. I'm talking about only national geochemical mapping. I'm talking about. Yes.
So what was the question? I couldn't get it. I mean, you're talking about the exploration part. When could you repeat that?
I'm just talking about the role of national geochemical mapping in the exploration of deep-seated ore deposits.
Okay.
So, yes, he was inquiring about. So I'm just saying that it can be used for the primary as a primary exploration tool for the deep-seated deposit also, only for the co-magmatic and co-genetic ore deposits.
Yes.
That is only my submission.
We come to the last talk of our today. That is Dr. Chaudhary from Ladakh. Will you speak from there or here? Okay, fine. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Dr. A.S. Sodi, Deputy Director, 13 level, and also the head of the department here in Geology and Mining Department. I am very thankful to Honorable LG Shri R.K. Mathur, the advisor cum Chief Secretary our among Neurology IAS, and my Commissioner Swagat Biswaji IAS, who gave me this opportunity to come to Delhi and to interact with such renowned personalities and dignitaries who are here. I am very much thankful to Professor Banerjee also and to Satish Patilji, who actually Professor Neptune had come to Ladakh very recently and who endorsed me to Professor Banerjee and Satish Tripathi. So there is a huge potential, geotourism potential in Ladakh, but I have captured some of the spots which are here in my presentation. There is huge potential in Ladakh, and only two resources are there: geotourism or the mineral resources. There is no such other resources for Ladakh people. So the government must take care and to promote such spots for attraction of tourists. Backed up, geotourism was first defined in 1995 by Thomas House. Under the strict perspective, geological tourism has since undergone several changes. A former natural area tourism that specifically focuses on landscape and geology. It promotes tourism to geosites and the conservation of geodiversity and an understanding to earth sciences through appreciation and learning. This is achieved through independent visits to geological features, use of geotrials and viewpoints, guided tours, geo-activities, and patronage of Geosites Visitor Center. Geotourism is an offshoot of cognitive tourism and adventure tourism based upon visits to geological objects, geosites, and recognition of geological process integrated in aesthetic experiences gained by contact with the geosite. and intentional learning about the Earth's heritage and abiotic elements of the contemporary environment and those aspects of human activity that are directly related to use of Earth's resource. Geotourism allows tourists to know the local geology, but also to better understand that this geology is closely related with all the other assets of the territory, such as biodiversity, ecological and cultural values, etc. Although geotourism has a connection with ecotourism, cultural tourism, and adventure tourism, it is a distinctive form of tourism that is not synonymous with any other tourist forms. Geotourism potential of Ladakh. Ladakh means land of high passes. Ladakh is a newly created union territory administered by India, which was part of erstwhile J&K, bounded by Pakistan on western side, China on northern side, and also surrounded by Karakoram and Himalayan mountains. Comprised of two districts, Leh and Kargil, having an area of 59,146 square kilometers. Ladakh has abundant geological and geomorphological features, thus the tourism management in the Ladakh can provide holistic geological tourism products, which can enhance the overall tourism products and can attract new segment of tourists. The term geotourism potential is used in scientific studies devoted to geotourism, geodiversity, geoheritage, and geoconservation. According to Dowling and Newsom, every place has a geotourism potential, described as an area's dissimilarity from the surroundings and the individual geological history of a specific place. A potential geotourism development in Ladakh can bring many outstanding benefits to the overall tourism industry in Ladakh. Therefore, such development may enhance the nature and scope of the tourism supplies and products in Ladakh and may bring financial and social benefits for the local community adjacent to the geosites. Having this in mind, it could be argued that geotourism developments in Ladakh can bring these different benefits. It can maximize the economic benefits of the local tourism industry and drive the economic development for geosites, enhancing the well-being of the local communities adjacent to geological tourism sites. It can promote the knowledge and education and enhancing the geological awareness, protecting and sustaining the geoheritage in Ladakh. According to Hose in 2008, there are two major types of geotourist groups. First, the educational group comprising students of all educational students from preschool to postgraduate who undertake geological studies or other related studies and dedicated to geotourism provisions. Second, the recreational group that includes different kinds of recreational people, from the beginners to the experts. Whereas Joyce in 2006 identified some categories of geotourism. These include the normal visitor who is interested in one or more parts of geology, the devoted experts of geology and landforms, different types of student groups, academic staff who participate in conference and trips, pupils and academic classes, merchant, eco-tour and geotour entrants, landscape photographers, artists and historians. These are the sites which have been identified, and out of these sites only 2 to 3 are very important sites, and most of the tourists are attracted by these sites, particularly Pangong Lake and sand dunes and Nubra Valley. So these are the geothermal spring at Puga Valley, geothermal spring at Chumathang Lake, hot spring in Panamik Nubra, sand dunes at Hundar Nubra, confluence of Indus River and Zanskar River at Sangam Lake, Somarori Lake, Pangong Lake, Sokar Lake, Indus Sangpo Suche Zone, Lama Yuru Extent Deposit Khalsi Lake, Netherophyllite Suite, Limestone Cave at Shershe Kargil, 7th century Lal Buddha statue at Chikhar Sanku and Tumel South Kargil, Nunkun Glacier, Parchiki Kargil and Yarsing Twin Medicinal Springs. This is the history and the photograph of the spot. Hot spring in Puga Valley. Puga Valley is in Leh district of Ladakh is one of the areas which showed significant potential of geothermal energy. Puga lies in the southeastern part of Ladakh and forms a part of Himalayan geothermal belt. This zone shows evidence of geothermal activity in the form of hot springs, mud pools, sulfur and borax deposits. Since Ladakh lies In the confluence of two continental plates, geothermal energy can be found easily here. The potential is strong as we have good source of water due to rivers and hot springs. The development of geothermal potential would be beneficial in the winter months when Ladakh's hydropower stations are frequently either shut or working at a much lower efficiency due to low flow rates. Puga is the most widely known and researched hot spring in India. It is also considered the most potential site for power generation with an expected temperature of 200 degrees centigrade and 2000 meter depth. Geological Survey of India has reported this. Recently, ONGC has taken over the project and they are doing some drilling at Puga Valley. Rocks explored around Puga are gneiss, garnet mica and kyanite, schist, quartzite, carbonaceous phyllites and limestone belonging to Yan group of upper Paleozoic age. These rocks unconfirmably overlie lower to middle Paleozoic, Polokong, granite and included by amphibolite, eclogite and at least two distinct phases of acid intrusive and granite respectively. This is Panomic hot spring. Panomic village is located at Nubra Valley. Maybe some of you have gone to this place. Nubra Valley of Leh district, and this village is famous for its hot spring. Tourists use it to take a bath in the hot spring for various medicinal properties. The temperature of this hot spring ranges from 65 to 75 as recorded in July 2019. The book on Ladakh by author Parvez Diwan, IS officer from JNK, mentions the hot springs of Panomic, saying that people from all over the district visit the hot springs for their curative qualities. During the period when Silk Route was open, the travelers from Yarkand in China visited these hot springs as scaling waters were said to cure rheumatism and spirals. In Jammu and Kashmir, Ladakh, this was attributed to minerals present in the geothermal water. Sumathang hot springs, same. Sumathang is 170 kilometers from Leh and has several hot springs with surface manifestations and can be seen in figure. The hot spring site is a transit point for vehicles going through Numa, Hanle, Samarodi, etc. There are several washrooms. While people take baths using geothermal water, there is a traditional amchi. Amchi is a Ved. In Hindi, we can say amchi, traditional medicinal practitioner, building while patients are treated using geothermal water under the guidance of amchi. A space heating demonstration project was also done by Norwegian funding with technical expertise from Iceland Geosurvey ISRO. This heating system is still used by the restaurant owner who are getting this indicates that the utilization of geothermal resources can bring positive changes in living condition of the people. These are sand dunes at Nubra, very famous spot where thousands of tourists go there and enjoy. There is a double hump camel also in this area. It is unbelievable. One thinks of it that desert could exist and so high altitude and so the dunes. Sand dunes in Hundur, district of Nubra Valley, hold so many surprises for the tourists from all around the world. The area is about 10 to 12 kilometers from district village, Leh district, on the left flank of Shyok River at an altitude of about 4,000 meters. Lots of researchers and tourists visit the area to get the information about sand dunes and research purposes. This is confluence of rivers, while Sangam and River Sindh, this is near Sangam area, one of the most fascinating nature in Ladakh in Sangam confluence, the confluence of Indus and Zanskar rivers. There is vantage point at about 35 kilometers from Leh near the village Nimo on the Leh-Srinagar National Highway, where the picturesque Sangam of these opulent rivers travelers can be witnessed. This confluence has become one of the hot tourist spots near Leh.
Zanskar River is one of the major tributaries of Indus River only. It meets the Indus River near Numavali, Ladakh, a place popularly known as Sangam. At Sangam, the Indus River can be seen as shiny blue, while Zanskar River is dirty green. In summer season, Zanskar is swollen and rapid, while Indus is comparatively calmer. In the winters, it is quite the opposite. Zanskar slows down. Its flow is light and completely frozen at some place. Be it in the summer or winter season, the confluence of these two magnificent rivers is not a sight to be missed when you are in Ladakh. It is a remarkable depiction of nature's subtle magical nuisance. Okay, sir. This is Sokar Lake, Salty Lake. This is 160 kilometers from Lake. Somarori Lake. High altitude Somarori Lake is situated at less than 250 kilometers southeast of Leh, flanked by lofty mountains. This serene lake is about 4,000 meters above sea level. The Somarori is approximately 9 kilometers long and up to 8 kilometers in width. Somarori attracts a range of wildlife, including migratory birds, marmots, and rarely the Tibetan wolves. Pangong Lake. Pangong Lake in Ladakh, you never know what surprise nature has in store for you. Pangong Lake, situated at a height of almost 4,350 meters, is the world's highest salt water lake, extending to almost 160 meters. Indus Sangpo Future Zone. This is near Somarori Lake. Indus Sangpo Future Zone in Ladakh lies between the Phanerozoi sequence of Zanskar Zone and Tits Himalaya in the south and Karakoram Zone in North Ladakh. So next, Lama Yuru Extent Deposit. The department has already proposed to construct a geological museum, and we have already written a letter to Director General GSI to provide us some expertise and some technical team to send to Lama Yuru for getting the department some technical know-how, because GSI is the nodal agency and has so many geological museums they have built, in particular in Gwalior and Calcutta, etc. It's a netherophyllite suit. Netherophyllite complex consists of 10 km thick ophyllite suit in the north. Sir? This one? How many minutes more will take? How many more minutes? Slides after. अच्छा, बस थोड़े रह गए बस. Okay, sir, बस. This is limestone cave in Sharshi Kargil. This is Nunkun Massives. Yarkashing Twin Medicinal Springs in Kargil also, Kargil district of Leh, Ladakh. A role of the department promoting the Department of Geology and Mining was created out of its parent department of J&K government during the bifurcation of state of J&K into two UTs in the year 2019. Was under the administrative control of Commissioner Secretary Industries and Commerce Department UT Ladakh, with its headquarters at Leh, with the main objective to explore the mineral wealth and groundwater resources, a hidden treasure of the UT by geological explorations to regulate and monitor the mining activities and to implement MMDR Act 1959 rules there. The main objective of the department is to explore hidden mineral wealth and groundwater resources. Since the department had worked and researched on different aspects and subjects like new geological findings, exploration of different minerals of Ladakh, and recent focus on geotourism studies of Ladakh from last 1 year, and explored lots of geosites in different places of Ladakh. These are the scientific projects which we have undertaken this year. Mineral blocking, we have completed minor mineral blocking in whole Ladakh, and very shortly we are going to minor mineral blocks, at least for 40 blocks, bajri, sand, and stones, etc. With granite also, we are going to also auction the granite blocks of Kargil and Ladakh also, 14 blocks.
exploration of lithium protection at Merrick Block Tungsten subdivision. This is a joint venture with MECL. And G for geological investigation of limestone at Shargul have also been taken. Plan for action for Vision 2 formulation of scientific policy. The department has its objective and vision for 2050, aiming to achieve under the proper scientific policy on geology and mining, encompassing geotourism and other related aspects also. The department has taken steps towards the formulation of scientific policy since Ladakh became UT, although it is an nascent stage of agenda setting stage of the policy cycle. This is the policy cycle. We are following some cycle already given by Leswell. Agenda, we are at agenda setting and then we formulation, adoption, implementation, evaluation and maintenance. This is policy cycle. The policy cycle is an idealized process that explains how policy should be drafted, implemented and assessed. It serves more as an intuitive guide for those new to policy than as practical, strictly defined process. The policy cycle is made roughly 6 stages according Laswell, as shown in previous slide. Role of department formulating. At present, we are at the agenda setting, connecting with different stakeholder departments. Vision 2 for in consonance with Vision 2 UT government department has vision to achieve it. Exploration of geosites using scientific resources, geosite mapping at whole Ladakh, specific geosite geoparks creating geohistory of these sites, geotours, conservation of geosites, a complete holistic scientific policy. Roadmap to achieve. Identify and connect different stakeholders, both state and non-state actors, to frame a scientific policy. Government departments, Ladakh Hill Autonomous Hill Councils, research scholars in different fields, particularly from geology background, and the general public. Identification of prospective geosites. Exploration of geosites using scientific technology. Once the geosites are explored, the prospective using the scientific technology, the department can go around ground level survey and exploration of geosites by using scientific resources like technical persons, research scholars and experienced staff of the department. Mapping of the geosites. Conservation of geosites. A multi-departmental task force. The foremost challenge regarding the conservation is to have a specific... Okay, sir. There are 2 slides. There are 2 slides. Okay, sir. So we have a very lack of staff and technical people. We have already given a proposal to Honorable LG to provide us technical people on outsource so we can take the assignments in hand. So thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's conclude. I don't think we have any time for any discussion on this because we have taken enormous time. Or if really somebody wants to have one question.
Yeah, there is one geologist, Dr. C.P. Dorje, an old student of Punjab University Geology Department, who's running a geotourism agency in Leh.
Yes, he is a very good friend of mine and he has been my senior while doing PhD. He often meets me in Leh and yes, he is active there in geological adventures and take expeditions with scientists from abroad and from India.
Okay,
I am in touch with him.
Thank you for everybody. I think we start concluding now. We are getting late also. Many people have to take a flight. I just summarize the thing in a very short way. It will not be very appropriate, but a cursory glance of what we have done in last 2 days. We started with the welcome note given by me to all the participants, including the session chairs and reporters. This was followed by a talk by Dr. Mukund Sharma, the president of the SAS, who explained the conservation of geoheritage as a scientific concept with illustrations, a large number of geological significant features that needs conservation and preservation. It was followed by a talk by Dr. Surya Prakash, the head of the Geoscience Department of NITM. He introduced the concept of geoethics in the Indian context and also explained the historical development of the concept in its increasing popularity among the Indian as well as the international community. In the inaugural talk, Dr. Ravichandran, Secretary, Ministry of Earth Sciences, elaborated the general human attitude towards Earth as a whole. He pronounced strategies to do that, and he explained the way the rivers and glaciers respond. They seem to behave like living things. He emphasized the need to eradicate the cultural and scientific illiteracy. He also said that it is time we give thought to stopping unminable and unsuitable mining, urban developments, and focus on the statutory laws and promote the administrative efficiency. Dr. Satish Tripathi, Honorary Secretary of SES, elaborated the role of Society of Earth Sciences in geoheritage conservation and geodiversity. There was discussion of how appropriate are the terms like geodiversity and geoheritages. This will also remain open to further discussion. He also emphasized the need of legislation for protection of the geoheritage sites. Followed by Samita Rajua, forest officer, she narrated the development activities towards geopark in Bagh area. Professor D.C. Srivastava, professor at IIT Roorkee, gave a scintillating presentation on various ethical aspects, issues in the interpretation and utilization of tectonics and structural data during technical investigation and preparation of maps for the PhD thesis. Dr. Gurmeet Kaur from Punjab University and the chair Geoheritage Stone Committee of IUGS gave an illustrated talk on the concept of heritage stones. How are they selected, how they are classified, and how are they given the IUGS approval. Dr. Pradeep Singh, Geological Survey of India, he spoke online and he provided a lot of information about the GSI's deep involvement in the protection and conservation of geoheritage sites in India. Mahesh Thakkar presented a very, very illustrated talk on geodiversity of Kutch Basin and provided substantial data to justify the demand for a geopark in this area, in this region. Vivek Kale explained various aspects of geoethics and the need for its introduction at very early stages of the geoscientific career. D.M. Banerjee listed a few cases of field data where manipulations are rampant. It was followed by a panel discussion in which Dr. Professor Bhaskar from IGNU led the discussion with the opening address where he made a well-defined course towards appreciation of geodiversity and geoheritage conservation as subject of in-depth studies. Beno Bauer from UNESCO in Delhi explained the role of UNESCO in geoheritage conservation and also offered several cooperative ventures with the participants here. Professor Santi Sharma spoke on the importance of moving from research to public outreach in issues related to prehistory and quaternary landscapes for planning substantial conservation. Suragna Chattopadhyay emphasized the need for diversification of activity and knowledge-based dissemination of ideas of conservation beyond the routine avenues, and she asked for exploring new contacts and the need for it. Today is the second day. This meeting started with Dr. Shailesh Nayak on chair and Dr. Nautiyal as a rapporteur. Dr. Vishal Verma gave an illustrated talk on the dinosaur museum created by him and his colleagues at Mandu area in Indore district. And he demonstrated the activity of one-man army in constructing a museum of great importance. Ravi Gundavali gave a very interesting way to develop a toolkit for linking several geodiversity points with signages and local information. Dr. Mohave, a veteran vertebrate paleontologist, gave a very knowledgeable talk on the dinosaur eggs and the museums at Rayoli. R. Shankar spoke about various ethical issues confronting a researcher and advised young researchers to follow ethical path in this scientific career. Dr. O.P. Mishra from Ministry of Earth Sciences elaborated various programs of MOEs and other government agencies in the field of seismicity. He discussed how the seismic data available with various agencies could be shared for fruitful scientific interpretations. Professor Devesh Chinna from Delhi University made a beautiful illustrated presentation on ethical issues confronting the paleontologists and the stratigraphers. Dr. Sudesh Vadhavan, former DG of Geological Survey, spoke about the possibility of using laterite as a geoheritage stone. D.J. Dasgupta, former Director of Geological Survey of India, emphasized the need for continuation of NGMC carried out by GSI and which was partially discontinued in between. He gave all the highlights of the program and the new type of studies that are needed. Dr. Sidhu, Deputy Director of the Directorate Geology Mining, gave a very elaborate and illustrated talk on the geotourism potential of the Ladakh. This is the summary what we're doing. And now, with this, I ask every one of them, every one of you, to provide me one page, preferably one page of summary of what they have spoken here and post it to me and as an attachment on my email address. Whatever you have spoken, summarize it in one page so that it could be sort of collated into a sort of a small book. Okay, now being the eldest in this congregation and also being a teacher all my life, I have some three take-home messages for all the participants, young participants as well as the very senior participants. Number one, which I have been telling you also, restricting your talk to the allotted time. This is the fundamental thing which nowhere in the world, if you go anywhere in the world, there will be a bell or they will remove the slide from your side at the appointed time. If there is a 10 minutes talk, and therefore, secondly, practice your talk before presentation. Our Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, President of India, has always said that any time I make a presentation, I make at least 3 practices in my room before my mirror and then come out of it. So please practice this and say that you are allotted 10 minutes time or 15 minutes time or 45 minutes of time and adjust your talk within that period, within that time. That nowhere, if you come with 60 slides for 15 minutes talk, people will laugh and they are laughing. Already. Not only laugh, they are laughing. People have come with their such type of thing. It is not acceptable nowhere in the globally. Please, this is for even for the senior people, and most of the senior people have the rule. And the last one, please do not clutter your slides with too many things. Cluttering a slide with too many lines and too many write-up, too many photographs is not acceptable. It is nowhere acceptable. If you want to have a photograph, you put one photograph there and explain it. And give time for each one of us to understand what is there in the written. If you've got 20 lines written on the board, who is going to read it? And you have got only 1 minute. Within 1 minute, you cannot read the 20 lines. There should be only 1, 2, 3, 4 lines which should be a. So this is my advice, and with that, I invite you for lunch.
A formal vote of thanks.
You saying, sir?
Okay. Respected delegates and dear friends, young colleagues there. I think it's our duty to offer a formal vote of thanks to the organizers
particularly Dr. D.M. Banerjee and Shirish and Stish, all the organizers and Dr. Yeah. And Dr. Stish Tripathi, I don't see him today. I don't know when is he busy. Yeah. So, and all the team which is working for this particular event. In fact, we are really grateful to you, sir, that you took the initiative and provided the momentum in 2019. It was August 2019 when the brainstorming session was set in this very hall under your own leadership. It was also very well participated. And this is this entire movement has gained during last 2-3 years because the COVID we could not hold and could not meet in line. Then I think this has generated a lot of discussions and a lot of topics are now emerged which need more detailed research and also detailed documentation. And some of the recommendations which are already, I think, recorded will be submitted to the concerned authorities who are actually providing the funds for this. That on behalf of all the participants, those who are present here and those who had to leave, because this is the second day. The first day we had a larger online also they are there. And of course, many of the delegates have left after yesterday's event. And on behalf of them all and on my own personal behalf, we extend a real hearty vote of thanks to the organizers. The team is led by Dr. Banerjee, so a big hand for that. Thank you.